So last year, I wasn't really socializing that much. It's not that I don't like people, it's just that a lot of it feels kind of boring. Have you ever noticed this for yourself? After a spiritual awakening, you're just not as interested in hearing about other people's problems or their friends' drama. You start to see the big picture and you know that they are stuck in some kind of social conditioning or ego driven perspective. You know that with just a simple shift in their perspective, most of their problems could probably be resolved pretty easily. But at the same time, you realize that trying to explain this to someone who hasn't had any kind of spiritual awakening, it's like talking to a wall. They're just not in the right place to hear it. So you stop trying so hard. But it's not just about losing interest in other people's problems. You might find yourself not interested in being around most people. You may find that a lot of conversation is just like small talk, and you want something that is more meaningful and deeper. Or you have friends who keep reminding you about what happened to you in the past, but you're not the same person as before, so you don't resonate with that old self that much anymore. Even people who are super positive, hearing them share their big dreams and goals or how successful they become is kind of boring. It's not that I'm jealous or unsupportive of them. It's just that those things that they desire or they chase don't feel as important to me anymore. Having a successful career, attaining material wealth, like being popular among peers, or like getting married and having children feels kind of empty. These things are no longer a priority for me. So pretending to care about how well they're doing and winning at their societal game, it just feels kind of inauthentic. And after spiritual awakening, we may start to see through the illusion and mask that people often wear in social setting. You know, sometimes people may over exaggerate how well they are doing, like especially in social media. You see this a lot. We have become more sensitive to energy, and therefore we can easily pick up on underlying emotion or intention that they may not be even aware of themselves. This heightened awareness can make it challenging for us to engage in social interactions. If you kind of poke at them, their ego will get triggered. If you just sit there and listen to them talk about their life, it feels kind of boring. We have become so deeply aligned with our authentic self that this surface level conversation feels rather meaningless and uninspiring. And it's not even listening to other people talk about their life that is boring. I also don't feel the need to share too much about my life. There's really not a lot going on. I'm just writing blog posts and recording videos like this, doing things I enjoy, being creative. I don't feel like introducing myself to someone new, like, hey, check out my YouTube channel, or updating others on what I'm doing. I'm just doing my own thing and minding my own business. I also don't post that much on social media anymore. I only post when I feel inspired. I guess after a spiritual awakening, what you're truly interested in is your internal life, your connection with source, the divine. We start to prioritize our own inner growth or development. We became more introspective and focus on understanding ourselves and our connection to the universe rather than our connection to other people. And this might feel a little bit selfish to people who don't understand about spiritual awakening. You just want a simple, peaceful life. You don't need all these like dramas and problems or all these extra material things or like a few thousand friends on Facebook to feel content. You're just happy doing what you enjoy, being present, and living in the moment. And this is coming from someone who is introverted. I don't even like small talk that much before spiritual awakening. But after spiritual awakening, I find myself focusing even more inwards and prioritize my own inner peace over socializing or fitting in. If you are an extrovert, I'm sure you'll feel an even bigger difference. You might used to be very outgoing and sociable, going to parties, but now you feel like a total opposite. Like you are craving more alone time. This is completely normal, and it's just another aspect of this process of spiritual awakening. Your soul is just pulling you in because you need that grounding. And I don't know about you, but after a spiritual awakening, plants and animals just seems more appealing than most people. Their energy feels so much closer to your spiritual self than what you usually get from humans. After spiritual awakening, you might find yourself spending more time in nature or just enjoying your own company instead of hanging out with others. The other day, I was just sitting on this two bench garden swing, the kind with one bench on each side, then it's made out of metal. I spent quite some time there just swinging back and forth, like under this massive, beautiful tree. It was so much more fun and fulfilling than going to some meetup and getting to know new people and making small talk with them. But even though we may find socializing boring, we got to be careful here not to let our spiritual ego take over. There are times when we have to interact with others, whether it is for work, family gathering, or social event. For example, I just celebrated like Chinese New Year recently and got caught up with a lot of relatives. If you go into these events thinking of them as obligation, it's easy to start resenting other people. You might feel annoyed at how fake or superficial people seem, like thinking everyone here is like so shallow. And then before you know it, you're telling yourself that you're somehow above it all, like you're more spiritual, more evolved, and you start wanting to avoid everyone. This is your spiritual ego talking. When you see these events as something you have to do, like you have no choice, you put yourself in a very powerless mindset, which just gives your ego more fuel to spin its stories and its narrative. The more you hate being around people or judging them, the more you create a sense of separation between yourself and others. And that's exactly what the ego thrives on: separation. Separation isn't aligned with your true spiritual self. Even if socializing feels boring to you, don't let yourself spiral into negativity. Remember, from a spiritual perspective, you always have the power to choose. A, you can choose not to go. And sure, thoughts like, what if people think I'm rude or uncaring might pop up. But that's just your conditional mind trying to follow societal expectation and fitting in. That's just you feeling guilty and defensive. No one can force you to go if you don't want to. If you don't feel like going, just say so. Say, I don't feel like going. No excuse or justification needed. End of story. You don't own anyone an explanation for needing some alone time. If your mind creates all this negative narrative like defending yourself why you deserve your alone time, finding excuses, or you force yourself to go only because you feel obligated, then there will be this internal conflict between your true authentic desire versus your conditioned mind. There will be a lot of resistance and split energy, and it won't feel good. That's something you need to reflect on and resolve over time. You can't be like, I choose not to go and keep telling the story of how other people forced me to go. Your decision has to be aligned with your mind and your soul. Otherwise, your ego will take over. And B, if you decide to go, just show up and connect. Not every conversation has to align with your spiritual perspective. Everyone is on a different spiritual journey, no matter how far they are in their spiritual journey. I'm not judging their progress, right? And it's not like spiritual awakening has made me a super serious or dull person. Like I'm unable to crack a joke. Awakening doesn't take away your social skill. I can still socialize if I want to. It's just that I rather spend my time with myself or with my closest family and friends. Meeting new people is not really something I'm interested in doing these days. Of course, this phase of wanting to be alone comes and goes. If you find yourself like stuck in the isolation stage, don't worry. Eventually, you may want to come out and socialize with people again. After my third Dark Night of the Soul near the end of 2023, I find myself back in this hermit phase, feeling more drawn inwards. My energy shifted, focusing more internally on my spiritual self. Right now, I'm just called to spend more time alone and dive deeper into my own journey. There are more things I'm uncovering about myself. But before that, after spiritual awakening, I did go out and socialize with others. Sometimes you will prefer a more inward journey, while other times you will prefer to focus more on the external. Neither is better. It's more about what resonates with you at this moment. There will always be this ebb and flow. And if you just follow the energy, whether inward or outward, you won't feel that kind of resistance that causes you to suffer. Sometimes during the isolation phase of a spiritual awakening, you might notice your friends start drifting away. Check out this next video to learn why this happens.